Swaik everybody, and welcome to this video where I would like to speculate in hopeful thoughts of what the H1 could get as updates. Of course, we can just push aside this idea since we know Fujifilm wouldn't want to spend time and research and development on an old system. All of their updates are going to the X-T30, X-T3, and possibly they might update the phone app and possibly put more effort in the future body cameras that they will produce. But I'm planning to make another video in the future talking about what the H2 should be as a video camera. H1 is still more of a photo camera, and I'll get to the reasons why later, but the H2 will be in another separate video. So as an introduction, I think we should sort of talk about what the H1 should have first, before later on I'll make this video for the H2. So I sort of gone out to sort of ask a lot of different opinions. Some people were negative about it, obviously, that the H1 would never get any kind of updates. As mentioned before, the X-T3, X-T30, and the future production will have all of the updates, so there's no point in upgrading the H1. But there's a lot of other people who do use the H1 and have other different ideas. One of them being like ISO 64. That is a very good idea for any photographer that wants to have an even lower ISO to have less noise. One thing that I was mentioning that sort of sparked this idea is, since whatever reason that cameras in the past needed to put a time limit in video recording, the H1 as a video camera should just take off the limit. Would that actually be possible in an update, a firmware update basically? A few other comments here and there would say that you have 30 minutes with the battery grip and that should be enough, but why should that only be enough? Why not just unlimited? Even the Sony 6400, when it was released, is an unlimited record time. And for like Fuji H1 and hopefully the H2 whenever it's released, should have an unlimited record limit. Another interesting idea here is for the LCD screen to be showing the focal length. You're looking through the viewfinder maybe, and then you're like zooming in, you have a certain focal length you like, and then you can have the options to see it on the corner of the screen. Even the X-T3 or X-T30 could benefit from such a firmware update, and it's just trying to give more options. I'm all about giving options to people. How is this useful to me? Well, it might not be useful to you, but it could be useful to other people. Something that I'm thinking about, and just curious of course, leave a comment below if you know the answer, of we have 1080p, but then we go up to 4K. Isn't there an area in between for 2K recordings? Those people who don't want to go up to 4K, but then want something slightly higher than 1080p for that crop factor. And it's like, why not just shoot 4K? But 4K is too big, so just have that 2K somewhere in between. You know, again, more options. Another interesting factor here is to have the sensor and the IBIS actually move. So it's like the Sony Pixel Shift multi-shot. And that is something that I actually didn't think about. That you have the IBIS on the Fuji H1 and then you can just shift it. And that will give the Fujifilm camera, at least the H1, the ability to have a very high resolution megapixel image. And that pushes sort of the APS-C limitations of maybe 24 megapixels to something much larger. A larger image that a lot of other people claim APS-C is limited compared to full frame. Full frame has more megapixels, more higher details, but then a lot of people would also claim that 24 is good enough. 24 is good enough and more than enough to even print large prints. But then if taking landscape photography, then the H1, if it's possible to have some kind of firmware update to have this pixel shift mechanic with the IBIS to give us larger resolution images. Certainly a very interesting idea indeed. But that's about it with this short video. It's actually really difficult to try to record, and this one feels a little bit right. In the past, just to share a small story before we end it, is that I want to go out to visit galleries and vlog their events and share art within Thailand. And every time when I actually get there, there's a little bit of a gun shy, you know? Trying to record, trying to speak, and speaking here within my room feels a little bit safer, less embarrassing of course, and is smoothing out that learning curve, I suppose. So any other ideas, since I'm ending the video now, of like if the H1 were to get a firmware update? Some of the comments here are talking about hardware. I don't know how these guys think that Fujifilm will like send their engineers over to their house and it's like, let us add hardware into your H1 camera. It was a little bit funny, but firmware, you know, software updates for the H1, what other ideas are out there that you could think of, and then possibly ideas for the H2. And I guess subscribe, I guess, to have a little bit of fun, see a little bit of vlog within Thailand and different art galleries. And then I'll be back with the Fuji H2, and I think you'll find that more interesting. And I'll see you next time. สวัสดีครับ